What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a few Destiny 2 updates for the week, and Bungie are still very quiet before returning to the studio for New Year, but today we'll recap some of the fixes coming in the updates this month. Plus we have a lot of bugs in the game right now, some of them are sort of amusing, and some of them are just annoying, so we'll round up some of that, as well as the content for this week, before getting into some of the major content beats for 2024. And so there are still a few things to round up today, and as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. And so firstly, for reset stuff, very briefly, this week's story has dropped and the bit that accidentally leaked last week has happened officially. We won't get into spoilers here, but some folks thought that this would be the final story week. However, there is one remaining week, so a mild spoiler alert is necessary right here, but next week just has a few steps, and we need to complete a new mission called Chiasmus. I'm probably saying that name wrong, but that's where we'll retrieve the final egg. And also as part of that quest, we'll go to the Wall of Wishes to make the 15th wish, and so that'll be a pretty interesting moment. But yeah, still a few more steps to get next Tuesday. But otherwise, this reset, we also got the first Iron Dawning event. This is something new that Bungie are trying, and after this, I believe we're going to get Checkmate Dawning. Okay, I'm only joking, but it was funny when the tower bugged shortly after reset and both of the vendors were fighting for the courtyard podium, and we've seen similar things before of course, but otherwise this week we got the next catalyst for the Wishkeeper. And so this is the multi-threaded snare refit, and the quest is pretty simple. It also requires some exploration of Dreaming City to find the anomaly, and much like last week we have to shoot the pattern in the sky before completing Legend Starcross to finish the quest. And the actual catalyst just gives Snareweaver more snares, allowing it to suspend more targets. But of course we have the Hatchling and Vorpal weapon refits to unlock in the future. And so I believe next week we'll get the Constellation Pair quest. That'll require us to collect another inscription, and then this Constellation Wish the following week, when we'll need to travel to the Gardens of Isilla and find the source of the Celestial Anomaly before completing Starcrossed once again. So a lot of these quests are going to take pretty much the same format. And some folks are asking, can we complete all of the quests and then simply do one run of Starcrossed to finish all of them? And the answer is, at the moment, we just don't know. But if anyone fancies holding on to this week's quest, we'll be able to see if the next one will pop up next week, or whether they're sequential and require completion of the previous quest. We just don't know yet. Either way, give us any thoughts you have on those bits of content that we've had rolling out these past couple of weeks. Moving on to some other updates right here though, and a couple of changes and fixes that we'll get in January, just worth reiterating. Firstly, Bungie have said for folks still missing items from the Warlord's Ruin Triumphs, they're planning to send out a fix for everyone affected with the incorrect rewards after New Year. So that includes some of the cosmetic items for the various Triumphs. And they say unfortunately they had to fix the Triumphs themselves first before they could gather the accounts that were given incorrect rewards, and that has taken more time than anticipated. But it is one of the updates that we should be seeing early on in New Year. Plus there'll be other January updates, including one for players being removed from the coil for inactivity while spectating without of revive tokens. And they're also working on a fix for an audio issue that causes a very loud noise inside of the coil when inspecting Riven's menu, and that should drop in January as well. So hopefully we'll hear about those changes in the next couple of weeks, and as always I will keep you posted. Speaking of bugs though, there was an interesting article here from Paul Tassi at Forbes, and it highlights some of the long-running and new ongoing bugs in the game, and that includes the Dawning event and the Snowball upgrades that didn't appear to work for the entirety of the event. Of course it's now concluded, but the upgrades for snowballs basically didn't work this year at all. But they also point out that the togetherness modifier inside of the coil also appears to be bugged, and players still don't recover health and shields quickly when near teammates unless you take some amount of damage first. So even if you're critically wounded, standing next to teammates doesn't actually trigger that recovery, but you need to take even more damage while next to teammates in order for it to work, which isn't intended as far as we know. On top of that though, there's still a bug where casting a freezing rift doesn't actually heal when using things like the Wrathweavers. And on top of that, recently Bungie brought back an Ascendant Challenge. That was as part of the quest steps for last week. And there have been lighting issues in the Ascendant Challenges literally since back in the Forsaken era, where the lighting can be incredibly low to the point where it's near enough black. Obviously it's meant to be a little bit dark, but not completely dark. And there are others like Bungie revealing the finale of the season in a random line of text last week. So plenty of random bugs there. And of course it has been the holiday period, so Bungie haven't been doing a lot of updates, but it certainly seems like there are more and more things which go for very long periods without being fixed. There are also complaints about ritual engrams and focusing, and an interesting one, but back before Lightfall came out, Bungie did say that they're going to take a more direct approach with the last season for the year, which is Season of the Wish right now, dedicating a significant amount of development time towards a more core ritual focused season. And they say while it will have plenty of new activity and story content, they wanted to take the time right before the final shape to crisp up the core rituals and pursuits. And of course we did see more ritual engrams drop in from core playlists, and also Bungie did the rework on Banshee, and you can now get Gunsmith engrams dropped from lost sectors and stuff like that. But otherwise this season, I don't feel like like there have been that many significant changes to core rituals, outside of what I would describe as pretty basic quality of life stuff. So I'm not sure if Bungie perhaps didn't hit all of their objectives there, or whether some stuff got moved back and we're going to get more updates. We'll have to see if they say anything. Give us your thoughts on it down below. But another random bug worth mentioning briefly is that it appears throwable items in the game have a bit of a tracking issue at the moment. And there's an example here from Nathan is Sleeping on Reddit with a throwing hammer. Of course, tracking has been adjusted on a few of these things, but you can see they're aiming more or less directly at the hobgoblin on screen in the middle, but when halfway there, the hammer sort of veers off to the side and tries to track another target. But it's interesting because this tracking issue also seems to be present in other activities, like the Corrupted Nightfall, and players have complained about the orbs not tracking Sadia's location, and hunters have complained about similar issues with throwing knives, as well as warlocks using Celestial Fire, seeing the various bolts miss targets. So all of this seems to have gone on ever since the launch of the Dawning and Season of the Wish. So possibly another bug right there, and we'll have to wait for more updates from Bungie, but nonetheless I thought it was interesting to talk about those, and let us know any that stand out and have been irritating you recently down in the comment section. The final thing I wanted to mention for today's video though is a quick overview for 2024 once again, and next month in February we are going to see new weekly progression quests called Wishes. Obviously they'll be tied to Season of the Wish, but this is one of the bits of content that Bungie teased as sort of filling the gap between now and Final Shape. So I'm curious about those, but also we'll get moments of triumph for the year next month as well. But following that, in March, they're bringing forward Guardian Games. And of course, these items drop before the arrival of the Into the Light update. And Bungie have said that'll prepare players for their Guardian's journey into the Traveler, with Joe Blackburn adding, this is really built not only for folks that have played Destiny 2 for 5,000 hours, but also for your friends and family, and players who are just getting into Destiny and want to be prepared for Final Shape. Plus he added they're really excited about the content and rewards coming up, so stay tuned. But of course, around that time in April is when Bungie have said they're going to start showcasing gameplay and far more details for the Final Shape, so I'm curious about that as well. But then there'll be the new PvP map pack with 3 maps dropping in May. And so arguably, after April, things will get a bit more interesting because we'll have Into the Light. Of course, we'll see how good that is, but it's the most significant content update that we've got before the Final Shape comes out, and at the same time, they're going to start to talk about Final Shape itself. So that will at least be a bit more intriguing for players on the most part, but it would appear that January, and especially February and March, are probably going to be the quieter months. And of course, beyond that, there's a whole episode calendar with these new sort of seasonal style content drops that are going to replace seasons directly. So we'll see how it pans out, and let us know what you're looking forward to with the content drops this year. But for today, guys, that's what we have to speak about in this video. So as always, I hope it's been useful and interesting, and if it has, a rating below very much helps us out on the channel. Plus, be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny 2 content. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in today, and whatever you get up to, I will catch you all very soon.